And welcome to Sliced Mango. And I am James, their guest for the first episode, kind of, not really guest.
Yeah.
So, what is Sliced Mango?
Uh,
PJ or Mark?
well, we'll all go through it, but for me,
Alright.
what sliced mango is supposed to be for me is just a platform for curiosity. I think you have stories to tell. As a person, you go through a
Yeah.
lot of things. You're creative as I am.
Yeah.
So I just want to get to know whoever's sitting on the couch in the seat.
Yeah.
Just know their creative journey and what goes on through your head, their heads. Yeah. How about you, James?
Well, a Sliced Mango story for me is something, whatever you said. But it's to invite people who has a creative journey and or who someone is up there already and trying to tell the stories to give awareness of like how hard it is to make it up there. So yeah, for a good example is Mark.
Yeah, I think that best explains it. But my question for you guys is like, how do you guys eat your mangoes, by the way?
Oh, that's a good.
You're trying to
that's the
start a
first
fight
question.
right now.
Yeah, how do you guys eat your mangoes?
For me, because as humans we grow and progress. I started off eating a mango with my hands, and then I started scooping it with a spoon. But now,
It's just teeth?
just
I
nibble
got it
it.
with my teeth.
But now, actually, I do it very methodically because I'm an adult right now. So I cut it into like tic-tac-toe squares,
Yeah.
and then I go like this.
He puts on a full suit. He
I get ready. How about you?
massages the mangoes, shiatsu, everything.
Keep it soft. Slice of life.
For me, it depends. If it's in the middle, how do I cut it, right?
Or like the buto,
Yeah,
like
the
the,
buto,
the
so I
stone,
just-
the stone.
So I eat it like corn. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cut it like the same thing as you guys. But it's hard to find those mangoes anymore. The yellow ones, like straight up from Philippines. Usually you see the green ones, right? Here or red ones.
Yeah, you gotta go to those Asian markets, man.
Yeah.
They got the yellow ones. They got the yellow ones. The way I eat it, I cut it like one side and then the other side. And then, whatever slice it is, I just start cutting up diamonds and squares and just eat it either with a spoon or I'll just like flip it open and I'll just eat it like that.
That is a good way to cut mangoes.
I just
Every time
want.
I look at them, we just smile, man. So I don't know what to say sometimes.
But the reason why we call this podcast Slice Mango because in terms of creativity, in terms of story, I feel like the mango symbolize. It's a fruit. Fruits of labor. Sweetness when you eat a mango is something refreshing. You always want to eat a mango, especially when you're in the Philippines. I'm so happy to eat mango when I'm there. But we just want this podcast to be a refreshing take on like people's stories. We want you to take a slice, some tasty tidbits from people's lives and people's crafts that they're trying to accomplish. So
So
that's
what
just
do
my little slice of inspiration.
So what are you
there.
trying to accomplish?
What me? We're part of it.
What are you guys trying to accomplish when it comes to being creative?
Yeah. So actually, PJ, since you're talking about slices, right? Like what have you been up to? What are you trying to do? And like where are you now? And where are you trying to get to?
Right. I feel like my creative journey. I started off doing a lot of social media videos, like being acting more on screen, trying to be comedic, and lately I've been doing more like producing, like directing little scenes, and I like working with actors too. So I've been doing more like sketch comedy and trying to create little concepts that I really want to produce and film. And I think in the coming years, I just want to create more original concepts, like more dramatic stuff, more comedic scenes, and really push my creativity that way, but also, act. I like crying. If I could cry right now, I would. But,
Can you cry on command, by the way?
almost. No. Come, you have to give me a long command. Yeah,
You
but
can laugh on command. That's the one.
that's true though. I can smile. I can. Well, it's hard when you break character. Like I've been watching SNL lately, and there's a lot of times where people like break character,
Yeah.
and that's hard too because like when you start laughing with your actors, it's hard to get back. But I think I can say that I can stay in character in a scene, and I think that's kind of discipline as well. But I think for my creative, like you were asking what I want to do, I guess explore acting more and also just writing and creating again original concepts and things on screen. So. How about you?
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
pass the rock.
Well, for me, it's just nothing. I didn't have any credentials or any background with creative or anything media, but I wanted to do something with sports. So I started writing, like writing articles. And someone, I guess, some media company saw me, and then they made me start being their writer for their website and stuff like that. But I realized that is really hard. That's a skill, like writing an article. And for some people can do it in just like an hour or two. For me, it takes like a whole day, and I realized that is a really hard profession. So that's when anything, I just wanted to do anything with media. So from that, I started from that, and then a cameraman ended up moving to Edmonton, and then I was like, yo, I want to do that because I'd like to edit. I used to do like travel videos with GoPros. So then on, and then I start hosting my sports show, and that was it. And I realized I wanted to do behind the scenes, all these things that you do in the media, and I also want to connect people. I want to know what is their creative journey. That's the reason why we're doing this too, right? So yeah. So from then on, because of that, I connected with PJ, and then PJ wanted to act. I wanted to do camera stuff. So, and then we want to collab. And then next thing I know, I met you through the DJs, and so sometimes you never know who you meet, and the next thing you know, we're all host of a slice.
We're all in a
mango.
bowl of yeah. We're all fruits in a basket.
Yeah, very fruitful. Yeah.
And now we hope for the fruitful. What was it? Labor. We hope that it was a fruitful future. Fruitful future. Okay.
But let's listen to Mark. What is Mark? What's your creative journey?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to put into like one full paragraph, but I've been in art my entire life. I've been doing this for quite a while. Again, started off painting, drawing, right? Your typical like Filipino artist, and then after a while, I started realizing, okay, how can I make money actually doing art? That's when I started getting into graphic design. Graphic design led me to advertising. That I was able to take on a job as an art director, as a designer. And then slowly, like a few years passed, I started realizing, like, man, I can do this myself. Instead of working for a company, getting paid a certain amount, it's like, why don't I try to do this by myself? Obviously, then and there, like you realize there's a difference between being an artist and then being a business. And so that was essentially for the last 5 years, it's been a journey of not only just becoming an artist, but also learning how to run a business, right? And that's one of the things I didn't realize up until I started it, but now that I'm kind of like knee deep into it, that's kind of been the journey as of late. So, yeah.
I wonder. I mean, from that, jumping on that point, I guess for me, I've been doing everything on like a creative expression, right? But when it comes with like a business and a client, how do you balance your creative? Your creative, like keeping your creative vision alive, or is it really collaboration? Like, how do you push and pull, like with the client side, right? Because for me, when I create any type of skit, right, it's something like, oh shoot, I like this. I'm gonna write it because this is what I want. I want to put out there. But when you add the client, right? When you add the client kind of and money involved and all that stuff, how does that differ in terms of the collaboration effort and just doing something for your own creative?
Yeah, I mean that's the tough part, right? I've actually been doing a lot more client-related work and less of my own stuff. So funny enough, it's kind of flipped, right? And so the difference between doing client work versus like artist work is, again, there's a specific business goal, right? There's a brand, there's guidelines, there's things you can do, things you can't, right? A lot of artists kind of come into it, and designers as well too, they come into it thinking like, okay, I'm an artist, I want to do my thing, and this person is getting in the way of that thing. When in reality, they're not, because they're coming to you with a problem, right? And what you are is not necessarily an artist, but more of a problem solver. And you're using the skills you learned while exploring your art, right? And you're trying to use those skills to solve their problem, right? So for example, you have a brand that comes to you and it says, hey, I have this new shoe I wanna recreate. I saw something you did with one of your art projects. We love that, right? And we want to use that same style of lighting, or whether that's the same style of like the way that you shot it, you directed it, but we want to put our product into it. And so it definitely gets harder when there's more and more cooks and there's more money and there's more pressure on the line. But that's when you got to kind of like let go of your ego and at the end of the day, you're in service. You're referred to as like a service provider, and not necessarily an artist, right? Where the art comes in is all the things you learned, right? Exploring the art, right? So, for example, for me, like I just love taking photographs. I've always wanted to shoot like movie posters or billboard ads, right? And then for me, I was like, okay, I played around trying to learn how to do different types of like lighting schemes and all that. And because of my exploration in that, people started saying, oh, he can shoot something for us that looks like this. And that's essentially the way, I guess, to kind of put your mindset for it, where you're doing it for somebody else. It's not necessarily for you, right? So, yeah.
So you gotta talk about like how like your clients go and say, oh, I want to do it like this. How do you handle the pressure when it comes to doing all these things? Especially when it's just you sometimes, right? You said.
There are times when, let's say, a client has a budget where they could really only afford me physically, right? I can't bring on a team or anything like that. I try my best not to take on those projects anymore, which is great, where we're able to kind of choose. But during the times where you couldn't, right, and you had to kind of do everything yourself, a lot of it is planning, right? You got to plan ahead of time. You got to think at a time. I think in the beginning, when I would go to, let's say, like a client project, you kind of make it up on the spot, right? You have an idea. They kind of told you like through like one quick phone call, hey, this is kind of what I want it to look like. This is the inspiration of it. And then you show up on the day of, and you're just there. You're kind of figuring, okay, where should I put the light? What should I do with this? What should the look and feel be? But as you start going through it and there's more money on the line, you have to actually think it through. And there are certain clients who actually won't hire you or won't go with you if you don't show your thought process. So a lot of it actually is being able to communicate what it is you want to do for them and how it solves their problem. And then you have to put it into like presentation decks, right? So you put it in a PDF deck and you explain to the client, you walk them through, and you tell them, hey, this is your goal, right? This is what I do, and this is how we can mirror those or join those two things together. So a lot of it is like talking, explaining yourself, and selling yourself. Right? You're actually more of a salesperson than an artist, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
How about you, James? I mean, like.
How do I handle the pressure?
No, not the pressure.
You don't
but
feel any pressure?
No. I mean, Mark touched upon the fact that sometimes early on, right, he was working by himself, right?
Yeah.
I remember you would also cover sports by yourself.
Yeah.
Like just talk about like, I guess the behind the scenes of covering sports, because when you look at sports, it's such a big enterprise, right? But then you got this guy, this big guy.
Yeah. Not that big, bro.
I'm just saying, you got that. You're coming into sports and you just really want to cover their story. So like, how do you know?
The hardest part is like working for another company, right? And then doing your show, and like kind of like doing the scheduling. Sometimes you have to adjust to whatever the company wants. Like they have filming that day, and it's hard sometimes because you have to do. Like not everyone in my like when I had another people on my team. They don't do cameras, they don't do anything. So sometimes I have to go by myself to that certain place. And instead of someone else is interviewing the person, I have to interview him behind the camera. And you kind of got used to it because I remember when you do other things like that, you end up doing the camera and interviewing people. And you see the other side now as an interviewer. And yeah, it's really hard because sometimes you have to schedule this and then you have to drive all the way, sometimes in Brampton, sometimes all the way in Hamilton, and then you just have your own camera going there and interviewing. But you know, if you're really passionate in what you do, sometimes you don't even care. You just, even though it's you spending your own money in it. And yeah, that's it's. What about you? Because you were.
What about me?
Sometimes you want to do skits. You want to do. Other things, and sometimes you just do it yourself too. So.
Yeah, these are all like self-funded, self-directed, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you touched upon like basically that planning aspect. Mark touched about selling yourself, right? And you're talking about like time management, right? So I feel like as a creative, like you really have to, in order to level up, I guess, and be able to be free for your creative expression. Like those skills are so important. Like when I started getting, you know, actors on set, you know, communication was important because when you're directing actors, you want a certain look or a certain vision of that sketch, right? So you have to be able to communicate. You also have to be able to, you know, book the schedules, book the logistics. So that's the producing role. So I feel like pre-prod's so important with anything, right?
Yeah.
Just preparing, like a lot of times preparing your shoot and preparing your vision. But like you said, like it's about time management. And for me, I feel I'm excited for, you know, when I see things come to life. And I'm Sliced Mango is coming to life right now, right? It's just us for the first episode. But once we start seeing, you know, our guests come in and, you know, we know each other, right? So when we start like uncovering those fruits, those tastes, those slices, the spoon, the scoop of insights, then I feel like, you know, it's gonna be worth it, you know. Yeah. So what you didn't? I don't think you touched upon what do you want to achieve in the future. Like, what's your goal for your sports? Do you see yourself doing sports like in the future, or do you want to like kind of explore
Like
other
branch off to other things.
Yeah, branch off.
No matter what, I'm still gonna do sports because, like what we are doing here, I like hearing stories of athletes, like breaking barriers or like trying to pursue their passion even though it looks like they're not gonna get it. So that's one of the things that I like to do. So I'm gonna still do sports even, but what I want to see is like movies and like or commercials or something like that because I like watching whatever I edit after. Sometimes you're so busy with editing and you just edit it and then just send it to whoever wants to see it or stuff like that. But sometimes I like to like, if it's just me alone in the office, I'll watch my old videos and see like how bad it was, how like now like compared to like what I'm doing right now. So sometimes it's good to like reflect to like, you know, to your skills way before and to now.
Do you have a hard time looking at old footage of yourself?
Myself? No, it's hard for me to look up like if I'm in the video.
You know,
No, I can't do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
If it's a video of like I'm editing, it's
okay.
hard
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
because it's like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Why did I put that transition and stuff like that? But but for you guys, do you ever have that time of like kind of like looking at your old videos or old work? And you're like, oh my gosh, I was bad back then, but I thought that was really good.
I'll toss
that
it to
time.
Mark. Mark, what projects have you done that you're like that really you hold dear to you in terms of like you growing as a you know graphic designer or as an artist like back a couple of years ago?
Back in the day, as a designer, as a photographer, or really just as an artist, I'd say. Yeah, there was a lot of like old portrait work that in my head I thought I was like, oh man, this is so sick. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm gonna make it, right? I'm gonna make it, right? And then you look back at it now, and it's like, oh wow, this is actually it's not that great. And the thing is, I know a lot of people when they first start off, especially when they're trying to either be an artist or a photographer, doesn't matter what it is, they get trapped into this whole like social media thing, right? Because again, back in the day, like legitimate commercial photographers, fine art photographers, they didn't have social media. And so to actually get noticed, you'd have to get your images on like in a gallery, you'd have to get your images in a magazine and all that. And so the only way to do that is, again, sell yourself, get in front of people, do the dinners and all that. Whereas when I kind of came up into it, Instagram kind of was around. And so you build up this kind of like this like facade where it's like, oh shoot, I'm actually doing really, really well because people are liking, they're commenting, right? There's this whole, again, this whole facade of Instagram and what it creates. And so a lot of people get kind of stuck in that. And I see a lot of photographers who end up getting trapped into it thinking that, oh, because my Instagram's popping, right, that I'm going to be successful or that I am successful. And so I remember it blew my mind one day when I was with this guy. He had about like 15 or 20K like followers on his Instagram page. He was a photographer. I met up with him, ended up having dinner. We chatted, and I found out he still worked like full time at like an electronic shop, right? He still worked full time there, and the majority of the things that he was shooting, he was actually just doing it for free. But based on like what I saw on Instagram and like, I guess the quality at the time, I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, oh shoot, this guy's like completely made it, right? When in reality, again, it just creates like social media kind of creates this illusion that you're doing that you're being really successful. And so that was one of the things I'd say that I picked up from when I first started to now looking at it now, where it's like social media isn't necessarily the only indicator, right? You still gotta go to those networking parties. You still gotta put yourself out there, right? And although from a social aspect, it's a good indicator, but like from an actual career, like commercial career, like there are other things you have to focus on. So
Let me ask you a loaded question. When loaded.
Yeah, go ahead. More mangoes.
more mango.
Loaded question. When you said you thought he made it, when do you personally would think? When would you personally say you've made it in terms of your craft?
When would I have felt like I'd made it? So it's funny because I've been thinking about this over the last few days, which is like, okay, what is my actual goal? I remember when I was a kid, I think I was in grade 2 or 3, my thing was like, okay, I want to be a world-known artist, right? And obviously as you grow up, like reality kind of sets in, okay, you got to pay bills, all that stuff, and so you slowly forget it, right? Which I'm sure all of us had a dream when we were a kid, and so recently it's just me kind of trying to get back into that. And so there's no specific monetary value. There's not even a specific, even like from a like social media standpoint. It's more as if like, okay, if my work is on billboards or magazines or movie posters or just kind of like across the world, then for me, I would have felt like I'd made it. But if I really think about it now, it's like the fact that I'm able to make a living doing what I do, like technically I've already made younger Mark's dream already. Because then if you think about it, I mean, if I post stuff on social media, somebody from Philippines is going to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, so technically it's worldwide.
That's true.
So I technically made it already. But it's so funny because obviously as you grow up, your thought of what you wanted completely changes, or you forget about it, right? And then it shifts. Right. So I'm actually curious, like when you guys first started to where you are now and to where you want to be, like has there been a big difference between, right, like that initial like younger PJ, younger James's goal to what it is now?
Yeah, I'll say, because before, like, I just want to get a job that is like it's
Real talk.
I just want a job.
Who has a job there?
Tim Hortons.
But yeah, I just wanted to have a job that has sports. Like I can be a sports host, and that was it. That's the only thing I thought. And the next thing I know, it's like, oh shoot, that's not the only one. The only thing that I need, because you need to provide yourself, and a lot of people that work in media sometimes do it for free, like you said, and that is the hardest part. So as I get older, as my more experience, I realized that I need to do more in what I can do with other things, just by learning cameras, by just learning editing and all that I can do more things by learning and using that skill. So yeah, what about you, PJ?
Hold on, can I just stop you there? Stop. Okay. He asked about Little James. Did Little James like James back then? Would he see Big James right now? And be like, wow.
Lil James. Lil James.
How does Little James pop?
Just wanted to be an NBA player. The next thing you know, just
No, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
Lil James wanted to be an NBA player,
Yeah.
and then now like you want to what's it called? Get into sports.
Yeah.
Right. Sports broadcasting
Yeah, exactly.
and being a host, right? And so, I mean, it's not too different from what Little James wanted. Little James wanted versus like Big James.
Little James just want to play basketball though. Yeah.
And now your knees are on break.
Oh yeah, I had 3 surgeries on my knee, so
Oh,
just know that one broken collarbone. So, but yeah, because when you were a kid, you see people on TV, you think like that's the only thing they wanted to do, but they actually wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
So when you get, sometimes you kind of feel like you're not grateful. You're ungrateful with certain things, but you actually wanted to do better than you think you can do, if that makes sense.
Do what you do.
What you gotta do. All right. All right. But what about you, PJ? Because for PJ, you study kinesiology. Right?
Yeah.
And then that is really outside
Exercise.
the media
Yeah.
or creative So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was like you, Lil PJ. Lil PJ wanted to go to the NBA too. I wanted, you know, I'm just, you know, Filipino
But we're
basketball
Filipino.
leagues are everywhere. I thought I could make it to the NBA, you know, until I never grew. The doctor told me your knees has this like, there's this Osgood Slatter syndrome, meaning like my growth spurt is like 1 year to 2 years away, and my bump never grew.
So
Like,
you stayed
I
Lil
stayed
PJ.
Lil PJ. Lil PJ is me. But
Not a bad doctor, bro.
no, because I went to a basketball camp and they looked at my knee and they're like, you can grow. You still have time to grow. And then it's never grew. Like I still there.
Just the knee grew.
What's going on? But yeah, so my NBA. So once reality hit and I kind of went to self-reflection, I was like, do I really want to play basketball as a job? Because that's the thing too, right? Like what you like doing and also like balancing like what will, you know, what will give you money to sustain yourself. Like, can I play basketball 24/7? You know, and I used to play ball in high school, and I had to wake up early to go to practice, and it's those little things that, you know, can I see myself doing that for a long time? Yeah. And I was like, you know, maybe I'll just venture off into coaching and teaching kids and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. And then once when I was there, then I had and throughout my whole like high school journey, I was always like creative in terms of like I was joining dance crews. I was making little videos before, like little weird videos when I was in high school. So I think after my basketball dreams kind of went downhill, then I was like, okay, maybe I have time to explore something else. And that's when I started like getting into acting, started like exploring like filmmaking and things like that. So,
But what got you then, though? Like, how did you even come across that?
I think there was a little seed in me that kind of grew
To a mango.
into a mango tree.
Before he got sliced.
Sliced. I'm trying to think of what particularly sparked. Shoot, that's a good question. Because what really sparked me in making? I'm trying to think what my first video was. Instagram, Facebook.
Is it because of
like what did you see?
Yeah,
And you're like, oh, like I could do that.
Let's just make more videos.
Is it because remember you reach out to someone, it's like, hey, what about the basketball show? Is that kind of like change everything or no? Or you were doing it before?
No. I think the first creative endeavor, like hosting, like I was always like, I like speaking, I like public speaking. I would join Toastmasters, shout out. I won speaking competitions. Yeah. But like, I think on camera stuff and like being an entertainer was always, I guess, that creative energy of like thinking on your feet and speaking was always something in my personality in high school. But then when I started doing like sketches and acting and stuff like that, that was in university. I guess when Vine came out, like Vine, that, like I guess the social media stuff, when I would see like comedy, like actual people, like, you know, people actually thought they were cool, like making comedy sketches. And then I was like, okay, I dove into that art. And then I just started taking classes everywhere about like improv and everything. So that's a good question. I'll get back to you. You know, I'll check the garden and see.
Maybe episode 2.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
Episode
What about
2.
you, Mark? When did it start?
When did it start?
Because you said you started with sales, you did marketing. And
Yeah, I mean, to kind of like rewind back even further, like it started with my dad. Right, my dad was. It was so funny. I was talking to him maybe a month or 2 months ago, and he was telling me he used to technically he was a graphic artist in the Philippines where he would paint signs, he would make T-shirts, right? He had a stand, and beside that would be my mom selling barbecue, right, on the streets of like Philippines and stuff.
Good business.
Very good business, right? So you buy a T-shirt and then you buy a piece of barbecue right afterwards, but then I remember seeing specifically, it's ingrained in my mind. I remember seeing this photo of myself as a baby. I think I was maybe 1 or 2 years old in the Philippines. I'd come across this probably around like 5, and it was a picture of me inside a crib. And on the crib, my dad had painted Mickey Mouse, right? He painted Mickey Mouse on the actual crib itself. And then I remember that just blew my mind that, oh, like my dad made that. And so I remember I took a piece of paper and I traced it. And then literally it was like either every day or every other day, I would just keep retracing the same Mickey Mouse over and over again. And then from there, it was just, I learned that, okay, if I see something, I know I can make it, right? And so literally since then, I've just been remaking, painting, just doing whatever. Anything that I can see, like I can look at it and be like, okay, this is kind of how the light looks like. This is kind of what's involved into creating it. So essentially, it taught me how to kind of like break apart things and then learn how to put it back together. But yeah, I would say it was mainly my dad. And then in terms of being kind of like a world-known artist, that whole dream, that was through elementary school, right? Specifically, my art teachers, they saw that I was super keen with the whole art thing, and so I remember we'd be reading art history books, and we came across Michelangelo's work, specifically the Sistine Chapel. I don't know if you guys remember that, like that painting where it's like the creation of Adam, right? Where it's Adam and God kind of like pointing at each other, right? And so I learned that entire story of how like it took him like I think years to paint that on the ceiling. He's on his back just painting each and every single thing, right? And so in my head, I'm like, yo, this is so sick. It's like hundreds of years later, and we're still talking about this. Like, that's pretty wild. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, and in my head, I'm like, man, I would love to create something where it's like down the line, people are still talking about it. So obviously, there's a bit of like vanity to it, but at the same time too, I'm like, I don't know. I find it cool, fascinating. So
did you paint some of these?
Look at the mango.
The mango?
yeah, so I mean, all this is my work, and these here are two paintings me and Hazel made. The one on the right there is Hazel painted, which is just a bunch of mangoes, and then the one on the left there is actually a painting inspired by Fernando Omersalo, right? And so I decided to repaint that, and yeah, it's been one of those I don't know, those projects where it's like we're just having fun, just doing it. So
Nice.
I just want to jump on the. Oh, this is not even like right now. Do you remember your first like commissioned photograph, or like your first job, like first project as a photographer? Like who paid you to do? Who went from, because you were talking about that photographer who you thought like made it and now, but he was working full time over there. But do you remember who was the first person that gave you like money for your photos, or what job was that?
I mean, for photography specifically, I can't remember. It must have been like a headshot. But I've always been trying to do art, whether it was like drawing portraits of people, or I remember back in like elementary school where people would pay me to draw their names in graffiti, right? What else? Like I'd always do like work for hire stuff, but like it just had art. And I remember like there was even a point where my friend paid me like I think $20 to sing for him and his girlfriend, for him asking her out to prom and stuff. So like just like random stuff like that. But photography specifically, man, I would say it was definitely a headshot of a friend of mine. They probably paid me either like $50. And I think it was like somewhere in Mississauga. We went to like a park. I took a photo of them. And yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, it's so simple. But in my head, I'm like, okay, sick. I made money from this, right? So.
I'm more interested in the serenade.
The
Singer for hire.
Yeah, man, you sing for money.
Shoot, that's the hardest part sometimes, like how to make money out of like your production or your art.
Well, this is actually a question I'd love to ask you guys. If ever you guys were homeless, right? What's the first thing you guys would do to try to make money?
Oh, that's
right. What's your what would you do to make money? Where would you stay? Like, what's your strategy? We always talk about this, and so I'm curious to hear what you guys.
That's a good question.
That is hard. Yeah.
You
Probably
first.
something with camera, like anything just to get by. I don't know I'm gonna live with those like equipments. I can't live leave those things, man. But yeah, I think just like try to use camera or like either pictures or videos and like charge them like $50, like you said. But yeah, what about you?
For me,
That is a hard
that's a hard
question.
question.
Yeah, that is
For
really
me,
hard.
first of all, I would reach out to the day ones. Yo, can I sleep on your couch? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
true, true.
Sleep on your couch. Once I get that, then if I were to try to make money in a short period of time or just get on back on my feet, I think I would just like list all my skills that I have, and then, I mean, for me, also I was in sales, so I know I can like knock on doors, and I know I can like ask people outright,
Yeah.
like hire me. I would like go and make sure I would look for the demand and whatever they want, because I have skills. Like you need you need photos, you need videos, you
Yeah.
need. Is your back hurting? I'm a massage therapist. So like I would just list all my skills down, and then I would just like make a plan of like how to ask those people, just to provide value basically with the skills that I have, and I think I would just jump into like a customer service or sales role right away. Like if I were homeless, I'd be like, who needs sales? Who needs someone to talk to people? I could do that. And then from then on, I always gotta, create a fund for my creative projects again afterwards. Because I think creativity is something for the soul. Like for me, like obviously I do want to make money with my creative projects for sure, but also I create just for me feeling good, and like the element of my soul that needs to create something.
Yeah.
So I think the balance, like we were saying. How about you? You've been thinking about it a lot, so now I'm interested.
Yeah,
in
man.
your-
I mean, let's say you start off at zero.
yeah,
Right? You have
like no
nothing.
clothes.
No, yeah, no, no, it's exactly zero.
Adam. 16 chapel.
Yeah, fruit of the loom underwear. Yeah.
All right, sure.
But let's just say you start out with zero. What I would do? I would just go on the street corner of like Toronto and just start singing, right? Try to make enough money so that you have enough so that you can buy a 24-hour gym pass, right? That way, then you can go there. You can work out, sleep, shower, right? And then in the same time too, in the same breath, like take all those skills that I've acquired, whether it's like talking, selling, or anything like that, and just start like going to like random people and be like, hey, like what do you need sold, right? Like go to like small businesses or whatnot. But yeah, the first thing I'd do obviously would be to do something that doesn't require like any instruments or anything like that. I would just start singing, right? I don't know, start doing magic tricks or something.
Start doing
All right, $10.
Doctor Strange. wait, just wait.
His birthday party.
Give me money first.
No, I was actually thinking about that too. In my weird, twisted mind, I kind of want to start from zero in a sense, like just to see if I can handle it. Because no knocks on like being homeless and stuff, but like I just want to see if I can, because at the end of the day, everyone starts in different points of their lives, like some people are more fortunate than others. Some people, they get like family troubles and stuff like that. But I definitely want to see if I have the stomach to be able to rise from nothing later on in the future. No, I'm pretty good right now. I get to drive around, like I have free time to create my stuff. But like with that thought, like I do want, I mean, that's a theoretical thought, but like in my crazy mind, I mean, maybe I can make content out of it because people's like, can this millionaire make his millions again in a different country?
Yeah.
But like for me, I just want to see if I can survive being homeless, with the guidelines around it.
Or
in
let's
the
just say
future.
starting from scratch. Right?
Yeah, starting from scratch. Yeah, so like starting with nothing in a random country, nothing to do. Can I end up being able to live there for the next 6 months or something like that? Like an experiment like that. But I also have that thought too.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part sometimes. Like even talking about the creative side of it, because sometimes there's gonna be a point in your life that you're gonna start over again when it comes to creative.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's what's happening with me right now.
Yeah.
Like you have everything and then boom, just like that, you're starting over. And I think making money out of it is the hardest part. Like how are you gonna sell yourself? And I think that's the reason why, like, this is the reason why sometimes I don't mind being like learning from you sometimes, because you do all this creative and corporate life and you find a way to make money out of it. For me, I just do it and then not realizing there's another side that, oh shoot, I should learn this sales stuff. And that's the reason why we're doing this podcast too, to see how is their journey and stuff. So yeah. So
That's true. Yeah, that's why we're doing this, so we can
Yeah.
like, collaborate and like learn from each other.
Yeah.
You can learn from Mark. You can learn. Hopefully, you can learn from me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can learn from me, but
Yeah.
I believe that too. Like, again, it's a balance. And I think when you said about starting new, I think for me, like the symbolic thing is like doubt.
Yeah.
Right. Like doubt. Like sometimes, am I even funny? Am I?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, sometimes you want like. I guess a big part of being creative is finding your voice as well, right? So the past years I was doing funny stuff, and then sometimes I kind of want to look at it. I'm like, am I even funny? Like, should I start new and should I try to do something else?
Yeah.
So like you're saying, like building, trying to rebuild yourself or trying to stay on track and trying to, I guess, balance those things in your mind. Yeah. That was a statement, not even a question.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like sometimes it's really hard to like find yourself in a creative world.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Everybody's kind of had to start from scratch. I've had to do it like maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's tough every single time. And then every single time you feel like you've figured it out, right? Something happens, like, oh shoot, I'm starting from scratch again, right? So it's a continual thing. And the crazy part is, although you feel like you're starting over again, you're technically you're at the bottom of another mountain. You've climbed one, right? You did all the things that you wanted to do initially, right? But now you're just at the bottom of another mountain. And it's like, okay, shoot, I gotta figure this out again, right? So.
All right, let's stop for a bit and let's say what we're grateful for, because it feels like it feels like the mood is kind of down.
No, not at all.
No,
I wouldn't even consider it down. I would say it's more like settled in, right?
That's
It's
true.
more realistic. So
True.
But yeah, I think that was pretty good. I'd say
Yeah.
I think that's a good episode.
that's a good first episode. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I just loved like talking with you guys. It's just being able to like openly talk about like our experiences and just like branch off each other. Because when Mark said something, I was like, oh shoot, I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So it's just cool, like being able to just smoothly talk about stuff. Yeah. How about you, James?
No, it's good to. It's like just passing. What about you? That's a good thing because like you can openly talk about your creative mind in this podcast. So it's a lot of slices. We're in the first slice and the second slice. Maybe fifth now. But you never know what's gonna come out in your mouth. Because sometimes you want to learn stuff that you haven't learned yet. Like you didn't know, oh, that exists in this world, and especially in Toronto. In Toronto, like you didn't know some jobs exist. Like I didn't know when I start learning from NABET. I didn't know they called people who makes prop as prop master. So like
you want to be a master.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's so many things that their job is just making sure they have to hold something for that scene. And learning it from my older job, like I was doing everything. Like I was doing lights, same time to make sure like I was a gaffer for for cameras and all that stuff. So didn't realize there's other things out there in Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you like our talk?
I hated it.
Me and Jay just like messing around all the.
I'm joking. No, it was good. It was good. I would say like at the end of the day, like the goal is and the reason why we're even doing this podcast is to kind of again share our own stories, but hear from each other, right? Because each one of us we're roughly in the same industry, right? But we're kind of all going on our own paths, and there's something we can learn from each other. And like whoever guest kind of comes in, like they'll be able to share their story and be able to share their insights. But yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I'm grateful for you guys.
So super grateful.
Yeah.